Give a big round of the hand. Give a big round. Give a big round. Give a big round. Give a big round. Give a big round of the hand. Give a big round. Give a big round. Big round. Give a big round. Give a big.
We could have homes on separate coasts, go dive in Greece with squids. Could have been so bleeping rich, but instead we had kids. They won't smile for a photo, they won't eat the food we choose. That's why we're heading to the Parents' Lounge to drown ourselves in booze. Every day we're more exhausted, we haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes filled up with tears. And yes, we'd like to fake our death and go off of the grids, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. So join us every Tuesday night to laugh at all our pain. Evening in the Parents' Lounge is the cure to staying sane. Welcome to another episode of the Parents' Lounge. It's Parental Mental Health Tuesday. Takes a village, and hopefully we'll give you guys some laughs to get you through this this thing called parenthood. We have a fantastic show for you tonight. I'm Jamie Kaler, joined as always by my partners in crime, Jason Gowan, and the guy who we still need to put in the pictures at the beginning of the show. Did you notice that at all? Justin Ruppel.
Howdy.
Pictures of him enjoying life.
Yeah, would that be pictures of me golfing all day because I don't have children?
Snuggling a chihuahua.
We realized we really couldn't progress as a podcast with two people who were buried in young children. So we brought a guy instead who had 2 wives and no children, and Justin Ruppel found his way to us.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so
thank you.
Hey, a really quick heads up at the top. Thank you guys, and I can already see a ton of our regulars are already in. Just a last heads up that we are in a couple weeks. We're heading over to Patreon. My wife has told me if I don't at least get $1 or $2 a month off of this, then she's going to make me stop doing it. We are going to Patreon eventually. We're not just going to keep shoveling this out everywhere for free, which right. I think that's the wise choice. We have all kinds of other stuff that we're doing. We'll probably have whiskey nights, and there might be a Friday yoga with Jamie. We're not sure how that's going to go yet, but we'll have details for you in the next couple of weeks, and we're jumping over to Patreon. We have a fantastic show for you tonight. I actually reached out to this gentleman. He's one of my favorite comics. When I first moved here, I was enamored by him. I loved his act, made me laugh so hard. He went on to acclaim as a comic touring, but he also had a very big book. He wrote a book called He's Just Not That Into You. And that book got made into a very large movie, and it became a cultural icon, linchpin moment in time that everybody was involved in that book, and it was pretty big. And I saw that he has a brand new book out, and I was like, dude, you have to please come on the podcast and talk about your book. His new book is called See You on the Way Down, and it talks all about his personal life and his kids and some stuff he went through. And he found a way to make the crazy things in life that we all deal with really funny. Please welcome our guest for this evening, Greg Behrendt. Hey, Greg.
Oh, wow. What an intro, man. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. I've been working on it.
Yeah,
nah, dude, seriously, though, I was so thankful that you came onto the show because I still, so many times, and I've talked about this many times with you, how many times I used to go watch, you and the crew of people that you guys were all Largo, and I remember I drove by M-Bar the other day and it brought back some crazy memories down Fountain. I was like, I used to see the craziest shows on Cabaret in here and stuff. So
yeah, right.
I'm so happy to see you. And you have a new book out that just came out. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's called See You on the Way Down. And it's a portrait of the last 10 years of my life. Post He's Just Not That Into You success, where things kind of fell apart and I struggled. And it's not a book I was excited about writing. In fact, I didn't even pitch it. My manager was talking to a book company, and they were talking about all these books they were doing about people who had failed. And my manager goes, "Oh, I have somebody for you. I've got somebody for you." He's had cancer twice. He was addicted to opiates. He's separated from his wife. His kids wouldn't talk to him. He's perfect. And so that was the genesis of the book. And then I had to go back and recreate my life over the past 10 years, which was arduous. But at the same time, I think a little healing, a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Well, I don't know about you, but for me, comedy's always been a healing mechanism. I remember getting on stage and telling the worst, absolute blackout drunk stories about my life. And then people laughed. And in some weird way, I was like, no, I guess it's okay. Like, it was a weird, like, I forgave myself for some of the stupid things I had done through comedy. I mean,
well, let me ask this. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Greg.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say they're just little adventures,
Well, yeah.
When you drink, you're an adventurer, and you make shit happen. And that's what booze is this ticket to ride. And so sometimes crazy shit happens, but sometimes really bad shit happens,
I drink
as far as drinking
I'm
goes,
almost Indiana Jones.
Right. I haven't had an actual drink since 1996. But I went out twice on opiates. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here's the question I had for you, who's somebody who is actually had the therapeutic cathartic release of writing about it.
Yeah.
And it's being in the written word, but then also your stand-up is some of the most biographical stand-up I've ever heard, where it's very much you can't separate it from you. You know what I mean? So like, is it more cathartic of a release to do stand-up about the things that sucked growing up, or the things that you struggled with, or is it more cathartic to write about it and be on and have it out on the paper and sit with it alone? It's always an interesting thought.
Well, that's an interesting question. It's a good question. I find it more cathartic in stand-up because ultimately I'm trying to get you to laugh about it. Right. And so I can shortcut it, and I can, I can make fun of it, and I can make fun of myself. But in the book, I had to sort of be sincere and honest, and I had to uncover stuff that was uncomfortable to uncover. And then I had to sit with it and not know how people were going to react, and not know, like what the outcome is. Stand up, I know what outcome I'm going for, and I get feedback immediately, which is why I've always loved stand up. Because
Greg, one of our regulars made a comment that I think all three of us were noticing too, which kind of flew over when you said she wants to know. Charlie wants to know, what does "went out twice on opiates" mean? I think we all know what it means, but you kind of glazed over that one.
So it means that I lost my sobriety.
Oh, okay. I
lost my sobriety. So I
thought I thought you went to the light. I thought they brought you back with like the fruit.
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh no. Nothing like that.
Oh, okay.
No. No, it just means I had 15 years, and then I was having a panic attack on a Christmas Eve, and very depressed and sort of suicidal. And I remembered that my sister had noticed that the dogs had really good pills. Like, she reacted to them like, ooh. And I didn't know what they were. I just knew that they had the little sleepy guy on the side. The little sleepy guy that says, "Don't operate machinery." Yeah. And I thought, well, first off, what machinery are dogs operating at this
point? I was thinking. I go, there's the joke.
But it was on there. And so I took 2 of them. They were little, and they were it was hydrocodone. Yeah. And so I went out on dog pills.
Who's your dog?
Hold on a second. Yeah. Hold on. Did your dog go in for surgery?
Yeah. So she had bad hips. She was dying, and she had bad hips.
All right.
And so
there you go.
Just so she could stand.
That's okay, because I started to they gave our little dog lorazepam, like the anti-anxiety medication.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what is this? They're like, it's lorazepam. I was like, we have lorazepam at home. They're like, this is a very different dosage. And I was like, wow, that's nuts that, the epidemic has reached our pets. That's good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Jesus Christ.
I mean,
Yeah.
are farmers like medicating their pigs? Is there one pig in the corner of the pen who's like sad and he goes, man, this ham's gonna taste like crap. I gotta make this pig happy.
Well, I
Get him
hate to
some
tell
Adderall.
you. Guess what? As it turns out, the number one thing that increases your appetite long term is antidepressants. It makes sure that you start eating again. So they've started to put it in the water of our bovine population so that they eat more and fatten them up so your steaks are fatter. So yes, in fact,
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
They
In
should just get them
California,
high. Why don't they just get them high? Feed them pot. Give them some,
that
give
we
them some
don't-
edibles.
Cows are getting stoned and hitting Jack in the Box.
Come on, man. I'm out in the field all day, man. I just want a little toke, bro. Why does it smell like cow shit, man?
It's so, dude. I mean, we've all watched like Painkillers and all these movies.
Yeah.
I mean, there's high school kids with a kid like broke his arm, and they were like, you know what you need? You need like a 3-month supply of hydrocodone so that you can then go to heroin when that prescription runs out. And it's like anything they can do to make money by selling drugs to your pets now. Like some guy's head exploded in a boardroom. Is like, I got it. We're gonna medicate pets.
We're going to medicate pets. Yeah, absolutely. And then you have cows that are ambivalent about being killed.
That's right, exactly.
They're like, you know what, man? I guess if I'm food, like it doesn't matter. I'm chill.
Either that or you just stop giving the medication before it's the day of slaughter, and then they just lead themselves in.
Yeah.
They're like, listen, man, I'm here. Do you guys have any way to kill yourself in here? Like,
I can't take another day in the field, man. Cut my fucking head off.
Give me the retractable nail gun. Poof. Well, don't. A lot of those drugs have suicidal thoughts as a side effect, right? Just give that to the bovine, and then at the end they'll go, you could save all kinds of money. It got dark. All of a sudden, this show's gonna go.
That's the only way through it. That's why that's one of my favorite things about your material, Greg, is that it's always based in personal experience. Did you have any partner in writing this, or was this just alone in your dark thoughts?
No, Amira, my wife, helped a lot because a lot of it I couldn't remember.
There's no way. It was like the dirt. You ever Dirt, Motley Crue's auto.
I love the dirt. I love the dirt.
So good. And each guy goes, I think this is how it went down. And then the other guy was like, that wasn't exactly how it went. Nobody knew anything. And they kind of merged the stories. So when you said I was writing this, because I don't remember like decades of my life to go back and write a story. I would be fiction.
Yeah, it's hard. It was hard. And I mean, you can prompt memories. You can, if you dig, you'll start to remember things, but she was instrumental in putting the book together, and we write together anyway. So that's just what we do.
That's awesome. I think it's important to have somebody like that because it's really hard. We were talking about this last week about having an editor, in life, like, or a director. I was talking to somebody about, my wife had said something to me and I was like, whatever. And then I thought about it later. I was like, actually, she's really right. She said something, I had put some post up and she goes, you're coming off really angry and negative. And I was like, that's just my sense of humor. And then I kind of watched it again and I was like, no, I really was kind of angry there. It wasn't comedic whatsoever. And I was like, oh yeah, sometimes you need someone to go, yeah, that's what you're doing needs some work.
Yeah, I run a lot of stuff by my wife, and she's and has always been. When I got my very first pilot deal, I got a development deal off of my first HBO special, and these two cats wrote a script for me, and Amira and I were dating, and she read the script and she was like, "This is fucking horrible." And she's like, this doesn't even make sense. And she's like, why doesn't X, Y, and Z happen? And I was like, holy shit, you're right. Wow, you have a real insight into this. And at the time she was working in the music industry, she signed bands for Epic Records. And I was like, we should write something together. We should write a pilot. So after that deal ended, she and I went out and pitched a script and got a deal and wrote a pilot. Didn't get made, but it was much better than what we had started with, and that's how our writing career began.
Wow. It's so funny you should say that, because and when you were talking about your agent saying somebody with a failure story, I think we all have in this industry more than others, is you fail so much. But the older I get, the more comfortable I am with failure if it was my idea and my thing, if it was my project, and my script or my show or my thing, and I went out and I put it up and it failed, so be it. But if it was the thing that I was auditioning for or asking for, and they're sitting there like, and it doesn't work, and I came hat in hand like this, instead of like, I've got an idea, if I came like, please, am I good enough? That always felt like crap afterwards.
I know, but when you first move here, your brain is like trying to like go, oh my gosh, me, they've chosen me, and somebody's putting this thing together for me, and it must have been hard, dude, to go like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's a tough town because things just change like that.
Yeah.
And you're like hot as a pistol, and then all of a second it's like, what have you done for me lately? And it doesn't matter how hot you get, eventually your time comes,
Yeah, it's amazing. Anyone who can hold a career together in this town for 40 years, I'm always like, good for you. I was just watching something about Weird Al Yankovic, and I was like, they were like, he's had a career for like 45 years. And I go, he has. Like, he's never, like, that's such a rarity, even in band land. Like, it's almost impossible to keep it going for that long. But yeah, it's crazy.
He's got to be one of the most successful of all time. I mean, he's had a hit. He's had a hit in every decade. It's
funny, Greg. I posted that you're doing the show tonight, and one of my buddies had some questions for you. He goes, and it kind of leads into this. His question was, what pitch, any medium, did you think was a surefire winner but never saw the light of day? Did you have a pitch that you were like, oh, this is gold. This is going to
Tompkins. So I was at this, you remember the show that you remember the On Cabaret?
Of course.
So I jokingly said that I was pitching a show about me living with a centaur. And Michael Patrick King, who's the executive producer of Sex and the City, came up to me and said, you absolutely have to write and pitch that as a show. So me and Paul F. Tompkins, we wrote this whole big pitch about a guy who comes home from a bar late at night, and there's a centaur in his living room who's been sent there by Zeus. And so we go and we're pitching it, and we say, and the centaur was sent there by Zeus, and the executive goes, I don't recall Zeus having that power. And we were like, what? And she's like, I don't think Zeus would send a centaur. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding? And the pitch was over. Like, we were done. It was just done, and it was embarrassing. And and we're like, well, okay, I guess do you want to hear the rest of it? Or it's pretty funny, but if you can't deal with it's half man, half horse, it's pretty great. We didn't have the CGI then that we have now.
Hold on.
And it was called Centaur, and we called it Centaur in the City.
Hold on a second. Hold on. She was like, I love the idea that she was like, hold on. No, I'm on board, but not Zeus.
Yeah.
His manifestation powers, that came from somebody else. That was a Hades thing.
She also was pitched Back to the Future and was like, I have a DeLorean. I don't think there's any time machine. I don't think that DeLoreans could theoretically change time. I don't
think they could go back in time. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, that's like,
oh,
I don't feel like that would. But they knew their Greek mythology, by the way, to know that Zeus does not have that power. Isn't Zeus like the god of everything? Zeus has every power.
Yeah, I feel like he had an in at the very least to make that happen somehow.
Yeah. Right, and also we could adjust it too. the what got me is that she didn't say, centaurs don't exist.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
this half bull, half man thing. I don't feel right to me.
No.
That
She
wasn't a
was totally
problem.
on board with the centaurs. She was just like, it's coming from the wrong source, you fools.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah, and that was that.
Oh my god.
I mean,
That's a really
Can I ask, who was the centaur? Were you the centaur?
I was going to be the centaur.
Of course you were.
Yeah, Tompkins would have been the guy living with the centaur, and I would have been the centaur.
Yes.
Is Paul still pitching it? I'm sure Paul has a pitch this week on it somewhere. It's still. I mean, that's the beauty of that kind of show. That's evergreen, man. That could easily go back out.
It is evergreen. We could pitch it to somebody,
Yeah.
and it would be great. Tompkins would be great in it.
Well, I mean, Sex and the City got its reboot. I mean, it's time for Centaur in the City.
Oh boy.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
So, Greg, now you have. It's so funny because we've talked about this before too. I'm a little behind you with the kids. Mine are 9 and 10, and you have 2 daughters in college now.
Yeah.
So you're kind of an empty nest centaur of a way.
Yeah. We are empty nesters. Yeah. Which is wild. It is a interesting thing when it's just the two of you all day long.
Just
Like-
hanging out, having sex, and going back to like your dating years. It must be super fun.
There was sex in the dating years?
Wait, what?
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten closer. My wife incredibly close with my daughters,
Mhm.
and even there were times where I felt jealous. Like I would like that much attention. And now that I get that much attention, I'm like, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Like
Have your kids read your book?
So one of my daughters just went through her first breakup,
Oh,
and she was devastated, and she read and she came home, and we took turns reading it to her.
Which
And,
book? Which the new one, or just not that into you?
Actually, the breakup book. It's called The Breakup because it's broken.
Oh, oh
is
my
a-
god,
Okay.
that book. Jesus, I forgot you wrote that one, man. I'm sorry. I've read, dude. This was that beautiful. Was it therapeutic? Did it help?
Yes, it did. It did, and then
Good.
she had us to talk to, and she handled her breakup expertly. So we're very proud of her.
Man, that got a lot of people through a lot of stuff. Has it been like it? I'm always curious how people get a hold of you. Do you have those stories somewhere? Do you keep some of those stories? Because I
When
mean, as
people
I told my
Yeah. Well, after He's Just Not That Into You, my emails were flooded, like the stories and things people wrote in, and people coming up to me on the street and telling me stuff like, like we got a ton of interesting breakup stories, and
yeah,
it was wild.
I'm always interested in the reach that what we do has. And occasionally you're like, it's just jokes, or I just wrote a story about myself, and then you're like, no. That changes directional history. And in this case, it turned full circle. You're like, well, here's something I wrote about myself, and now your daughter gets an opportunity to use it. But like, it's just so nice to have that built in. And again, I'm meandering because I'm just rambling because I loved those books, and I quoted so much of that stuff because I was the guy in college and high school that every girl had as a boy buddy.
As a friend. Yeah.
You were in that category. Yeah.
I was in that category, but also I never said the phrase like, why isn't she? I was okay with girl buddies, but I was able to say like, no, this guy's a douche.
Well,
Yeah, right.
The problem is she likes the douche. So your mistake was you were nice to them. And here's the problem. The ones I really liked, I was too nice to. And then they didn't like me.
They like the douche early. In their 20s, they like the
Sure.
douche.
Sure.
They don't like it so much. Women in their 30s and 40s. not
Yeah.
really.
I don't know if
I
I
would
agree
agree
with
with that.
that. I don't agree with
Oh.
that at all.
Oh, I see. Greg agrees with
No,
that.
that's just The Breakup, which is a crazy movie.
Mm.
But no,
Nothing to do with the Vince Vaughn movie.
nothing to do with the Vince Vaughn movie.
No, but
I actually love that movie, by the way.
But-
And
The first time I met my wife, she was with Vince Vaughn, and I thought she was Vince Vaughn's girlfriend. I used to live with Cross, you know, David.
Yeah.
In the early years, and we used to have these epic parties, and we had this party on Labor Day, and Vince came because Garofalo had invited him, and he came, and he was with this girl, and she ended up becoming my wife eventually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
a good one.
baller ass move,
That's
man.
a good-
I met her
So
another time. I met her after that at the Bumbershoot Festival in Seattle. And I
That's
said,
what
"You
I'm talking-
came to my house?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't remember." I go, "Yeah, you came to my house." And
Wow,
And-
Greg.
and she-
Greg's got Centaurs and game.
yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
You know what
And
you
then,
are? You're so fucking money and you don't even know it, baby.
Oh, my
God.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
At one point at the party, we had some people that we didn't want there, and Vince went out in the driveway and was like, "Turn it around, turn it around." And so we just stood out there, we were going, "Turn it around, everybody, just turn it around." He was like
just-
playing security.
It just occurred to me. Holy shit. I'm sorry for swearing so much. The movie The Breakup features a scene in which she is brought to a baseball game with somebody else. And he is introduced to this person, and he eventually ends up with her. So he steals the girl in the beginning, even though that's literally what happened to you.
Yeah.
You literally,
He
that's
stole your
where
story,
he
man.
got that.
It's a lawsuit. There's a lawsuit.
Oh, I've done it.
I love it.
I actually
I
love
love
that
it.
movie, and everyone who hated it, they have the same complaint. They go, I just didn't like the ending. They broke up, and it wasn't happy. And I go, it's called The Breakup. It's like the Titanic. We knew it was coming, and I thought that movie had relationships so spot on about like, who wants to do dishes? I want you to want to. I just thought, now that I'm married, I'm like, oh yeah, that thing makes total sense and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good. I like it too. It's a good movie.
Well, it's so funny because you kind of had that. I mean, it was such a cultural moment. He's just not that into you. Where you said literally what every guy had said to every woman for years, and nobody would listen. And you go, no, I'm telling you, this isn't happening. What you think is happening in your little fairy tale princess head. I just took my 9-year-old. She had her birthday party at the American Girl doll store. And
Oh yeah, we did one of those.
Yeah, and I just kept watching what was happening with the little girls and their dolls, and I was like, this is like, it's like brainwashing. Like, it feels so what we're training them in a certain way to have these fairy tale. My wife sometimes goes, I just wanted a white picket fence, and I wanted to have 2 kids. She wanted Ozzie and Harriet Nelson, and I go, life's not like that anymore, man. It's nothing like that at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
You know what's
right.
interesting? I always wanted to have you on because I had these theories, Greg. And these theories are that stuff like, I hear that men and women are so different, yada, yada. That narrative, I seem to think is not as accurate. So, for example, let me ask you a question. I always hear this, and guys, I want your opinion about this too. I always hear that women dress up for other women. Right. I always hear that women. That's the reason we dress up. The girls dress up for women, dress up for other women. But it occurred to me today that that's what I do. I dress up for other men because none of the stuff that I wear, like 9 times out of 10, my wife or my partner, like they think they're like, hey man, you could dress nicer than that. You could do, but it's the way dudes like, I hate, backwards hat or sunglasses and, So I dress for guys, and then guys always go, "Oh, girls dress for." Yeah, that's what guys do. We dress for guys. Am I wrong there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's rare that you have another guy tell you look cool, but I think it's more rewarding when another guy says, "Hey, man, fuck, I wish I was doing that. I like your style." I like clothes are like one of my hobbies. So like I I dress for both men and women. I want my wife to
Right.
love it. I want my kids to love it. But I also know there's certain things about my style that they don't like that I would never change because it's just who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just who I am. You know,
I'm
I like
I'm
to make
always-
an impact.
I think that's, it's great. I knew I had an image in my mind of the things you might have worn before you came on the
He's
air.
wearing it
tonight,
right
and-
now. He had the chain
and you
connecting his
succeeded.
wallet.
That's
and
exactly what I'm saying.
He had
That's
the
exactly-
chain connecting the wallet. Had the
Yep.
Argyle sweater. Yeah, you were, dude. You were doing the rock shows too. You were doing the crazy rock shows.
And
Yeah.
I would argue that's what we should all strive for, is that you go for what you like, right? You know, you don't-
Narcolepsy wants to know what does a centaur dress for? Dresses for Zeus,
Success.
obviously.
Yeah, Zoo.
I'm the exact opposite. I have like still my same couple of jeans from like 1998. I haven't bought clothes. I wish I was more stylish, but I don't think I'm the guy. I don't want vanity plates. I didn't want to stick out. I don't want to be remembered because I'm afraid I would do something stupid and then people would know me as, oh, that's the guy who's in the sharp suit, and now it's just homeless.
I
jeans.
stopped trying years ago.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I did it mostly also because, in stand up when I started, you would do an open mic and there'd be 35 fucking people on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you want to stand out. I used to wear shorts and ripped denim jackets and my hair was all over the place. And I was trying to create some kind of semi rocker image, and I always had the wallet and, because I wanted to be different I wanted people to remember me. I wanted them to go, oh, that guy with the fucking short pants on,
Well,
I do have
if-
Miller
if-
those jeans on right
brother, if it makes any difference, your Comedy Central Presents specials had a big influence on my fashion, my life.
Oh, wow. Wow.
As a stand-up. Here's how specific. You as it may not be aware already, I do a lot of impressions in the act. And when inevitably some kid, some young comic always comes up and goes, "What's the key? What's the thing?" And I always say, it has to be personal and it has to be true. Because if it's those two things, I guarantee whatever you're talking about will be funny because they'll see it in your face. And
Yeah,
they're like,
right.
really? And I was like,
Yeah.
I've got an example. And I do your bit about your girlfriend at the time putting the goldfish in the
Oh.
closet. And you
Oh,
see,
yeah.
he goes, the goldfish had splashed and it got some stuff on the counter. And she was like, hey, you need to do something with the goldfish. You need to punish the goldfish. And already you were like, oh, yeah, okay, that's a little crazy. Then she picks up the goldfish, takes it into the cupboard. Are you with me? And that's my favorite
Yeah.
part. Are you with me? Into the cupboard. And then she locks the door. 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 And it's I always tell the comic, I'm like, he definitely saw this woman lock the
Yeah.
door.
You couldn't make that's not a story you make up. That's
No, it was all true. It was all true. Her name was Danielle, and she was 100% Looney Tunes. She's now she's married to a nice lawyer. She lives in Denver. Everything's fine. But
to be fair, she has a bunch of fish, and they are super well trained. Those
can I
fish,
tell you what?
they don't act up.
So I did that. I did that on Letterman. I did Letterman once, and I did it on Letterman, and it couldn't have gone better. I was really happy about it, and I never got asked back again. And the woman booking Letterman was fired that week.
What?
Yeah,
From the
What?
goldfish story?
from I don't know why, but just because she booked Greg Behrendt,
No.
she lost her job. Zoe Friedman. Do you guys know Zoe
Yes.
Friedman?
Yeah,
Of
I know
course.
Zoe Friedman.
Of course you know Zoe
She
Friedman.
runs Comedy Gives Back and the golf tournament and stuff. She's has
Yeah,
a
she's
wonderful.
the-
She's like one of the nicest people on earth.
She's one of the best people on earth. She's got excellent taste. She's just the best. And she had been booking Letterman for a while.
And you got to fire.
And it was New Comics Week, and I was a new comic, and 88 not the gate.
So
What
you
did
say
Letterman talk to you at the end of the set at all?
He came over and he said, "I think I used Largo as my coming up. I would be
Sure.
appearing at Largo." And he said, "I
Yeah.
don't know what that is." And I said something like, "Oh, that's where all the kids are doing comedy these days." And that was
Which
it.
is- which
That was
was
our
true.
conversation.
That's funny. It's weird.
Oh my God.
So
So you're
weird.
saying he pushed you out and her out, and then they locked the door. They locked
They
the
lock it.
door.
They lock the door.
Lock
They
it.
lock it.
You're not
Lock the
getting
door.
back on.
And lock it.
Well, you did it once. Who cares if you do it a second time? The first, it's like, it's like winning the championship. You won it. I mean,
Yeah. Look, my then girlfriend, who was my wife, was in Hawaii, and her family watched. Like it was everything that you would want it to be.
Yeah.
The only
And it
thing
was-
that was weird about it was that they told me I had to wear a suit,
Mm.
which is not really my style, but I
you
wore a
probably
suit.
wore like a Slim Jim Phantom rockabilly suit. Of
I
some sort
would
with
have if I could
two-tone.
find something. I had to buy a suit that day, so I just went to Bloomingdale's and got a
I
suit.
did that. I went to the upfronts in New York one time, and they made me go get a sport coat at like Brooks Brothers. It was a war sport. I was like, whatever, just do it. I'm told.
Yeah, right.
I have 4 suit jackets in my closet right now from them going, "Hey, you need a," and I'm like, duh, that they're suit separates.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Separates.
So Greg's new book is is See You on the Way Down, and there's one place. I think we have a banner where people can go, right?
Yep,
Everran.
absolutely.
It's at everran.com. So you got cancer not once, so you didn't get Letterman twice, but you got cancer twice. Is that-
Cancer loved me.
Cancer.
Mm.
They rebooked you.
Cancer
Didn't
said,
wanna let
"Let's
you
do
go."
this. Let's do this again." The first time was a blast.
First time was what?
You got
Which one?
invited onto the couch after the first cancer, and you're
The thing
like, wow,
about
that
me, the thing about me, I don't think I wrote this in the book, which I wish I had. But you know how we are. When I realized I was going to live, I thought, maybe I'll get a cancer bump in my career. You know what I mean? Like people sometimes they come back from an illness and they get a little bump career-wise.
Yeah.
And I had some pretty funny material about it. But then Tig, who was my friend, still is
that's
my
right.
friend, got
Yeah.
cancer at the same time. And her cancer just trumped all cancers.
Best
Her
cancer
cancer
best
story-
cancer special of all time. Yep.
Yeah.
Her
It's a good
cancer story,
story.
like mine, I felt stupid. I'm like, I got cancer too, like Tig, but I got it late and I'm not getting the cancer bump.
Well, then people would call you a hack and go, "You're just stealing Tig's material." No, seriously, I have cancer. Whatever. Hack.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
You couldn't get something different like leprosy or scurvy or
Lupus,
there's
something.
lupus. There's tons of other diseases.
Yeah.
Well, pardon my ignorance. Which cancer did you have, Greg?
So the first cancer I had was non-Hodgkin's B-cell lymphoma,
Oh boy,
which manifested in tumors in my intestine.
fantastic.
And I had 6 rounds of chemo.
Oh.
And but after the first round, it had wiped out like 90% of it. So 6 rounds was plenty. And so I've been cancer free. And then probably because of the chemo, I ended up getting prostate cancer.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I just had my prostate removed. And so now I don't have that either. So I'm all
Beautiful.
good. I'm all good. Yeah. I recovered from both of them.
With your success at it, I'm sure there'll be, third time's the charm. You're going to get booked to,
Oh yeah. Cancer wants another
too dark,
wants
too
another
dark on that
ride.
humor.
No, it'll be
Yeah.
rabies next at this
It'll
point.
be raised.
God.
There was a comic who was who kept saying he had terminal cancer, and he kind of blew up. I think he had a special. Do you know what I'm talking about, Justin?
Yes, unfortunately, I do. His name
It's it was I did a
Quincy-
benefit
his name
for
is
him.
Quincy Jones is his name. I
Yeah, yeah. There was I did a big, it was like Judd Apatow and Silverman and
that's right.
Galifianakis and me.
He
a
went
bunch of
on-
us
He
at
went on
Largo.
Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah.
Yeah, like Norman Lear and Gary Shandling were backstage. It was like a big deal. And yeah.
He had mesothelioma, as I recall, or I believe mesothelioma, and an intestinal cancer, and he said that his dream was to do an HBO special.
That was it.
And so we in the comedy community, we heard that and went, yeah, man, that's all of our dreams. And if we had a ticking time clock like that, where he had said basically that he was terminal, we were like, you know what? I think we could probably get some things together, and you and a whole bunch of other people did that, and he had his HBO special. I don't know if you can find it anymore, though.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really?
Hey, not to be
Yeah, I have it
Debbie,
too.
not to be Debbie Downer for a second, but just so you all know, we all have a ticking clock, and we're all terminal. Just
Yeah, but
Yes.
the difference is he was 32, and
in
we're
the
like,
time.
oh,
Yeah. I know
yeah,
what you're saying, but
exactly.
everyone has that dream. I get it.
oh, sure, yeah,
Sure,
but
I'm the bad guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You're the bad guy, Jamie. That's all I'm saying, baby.
Sorry, I had to do my best.
Unless I might be a Highlander at this point. I feel like I may be a Highlander, and I just have to be beheaded to finally go. I'm not sure, but
There can be only one.
I'm sure these clips will all come back to haunt me. when I go. Greg, it's weird too. As like age and being a comic, I definitely we do this every week. I have gallows humor because I'm zooming in on 60. I'm zooming in
Yeah.
on 60. It feels so odd to say those words out loud. And so, and I have a 9-year-old kid. I had kids at 50. And so my brain is always like, that's the running joke here. They go, what are you going to do for college? I go, oh, that's my wife's second husband's problem. I won't be around for that. And so my whole act now is like, old man, get off my lawn. I have kids, garbage.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
definitely have that mentality of like, and nobody talks about it. It's still like this verboten thing to talk about a lot of times on stage, and I'm sure your act now is rife with a lot of it. And it's the one thing we're all gonna it's gonna all happen to all of us, and we just no one talks about it, and it reaches this weird point sometimes.
I'm not even sure I'll make it to the end of the show.
I know. Yeah, honestly, I know you and your health. You might not, but you may not, Jason. We don't know.
It's
It'll
a
be a good show.
50-50 shot.
I have a
Um,
pretty. I'm pretty. When I got cancer the first time, I was in Australia. I was doing the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and I'd had these stomach pains, and I'd gone to the doctor before I went to Australia, and he diagnosed me as having gas. I was like, all right, and they just got progressively worse till they were crippling, and I couldn't walk, and so I went to the emergency room. I'd been in Australia for like 8 days. I was supposed to work there for a month, and I went to the emergency room, and they put me out, and they did the they did an MRI, and then I woke up after a little heroin nap, and they were like, you've got a cluster of tumors. And my first response was, well, I've had a pretty good life. And the guy said, well, we're not picking out tombstones, but you got to go get this fixed. But I sincerely felt, and I was 50 at the time, I sincerely felt like, you know what? I've accomplished a lot. I did a lot of things people didn't expect me to do. I was lucky in the parent lottery, for the most part. And I have 2 amazing kids. I married a perfect woman who will probably remarry and take care of my kids. I'm good. I was good to go. Like I didn't want to go. I like being around, but I'm also like, I don't have a lot of regret. I don't have a lot of like, oh, if I'd only done this. Like I feel like I'm pleased with what I have. I don't.
And maybe this is a bit meta, but I only have a theory, and tell me if you think if there's anything here. I think it's that kind of, well, I had a good, that kind of lack of fear. You're like,
Yeah.
listen, hey, this is, and I can't prove it, but there is some theory behind cortisol and stress being it adds fuel to the cancer fire. So if you truly were like, hey, I'm at peace, however this happens, let's fight it, but I'm at peace.
Yeah.
That level of peace helps you fight it. Am
Yeah,
I
I
on the right track?
I never felt panicked.
Let me ask you this, Greg, because I feel the same way. Like, I feel like, obviously, don't want to go. But in a weird way, I feel like I lived my life exactly how I wanted to. Yeah, is there a couple things I would have changed a little bit? Yeah, here and there. But the fact that I didn't just kind of do what was expected of me and stay in my town or whatever, and I ventured out. I mean, back in the day, nowadays, everybody does stand up. But back then, to get on stage was really hard and scary. And if when you finally get to the point where you started crushing, you're like, man, I really accomplished something here. You get some TV work, you get a crazy book deal. All of a sudden, you have these high points, and you took this shot on your life that a lot of people don't take. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you came out of San Fran, you were doing stand up. All of a sudden, you said, I'm going for this. And in a weird way, I kind of feel like, yeah, is there more that I can do and accomplish? Absolutely. But I feel pretty good about, the life I've led so far. And so I feel like I would be in the same vein of like, good. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, all I really want is more time with my wife and kids.
Me
As
too.
much of that as I can get. I've thought about things. I really, after writing this book, I wanted to do something really, really fun. And there's a part of me that feels like, I came up with this incredible crew of people, and it would be fun to write the definitive oral history of the alternative comedy scene, as it started in the late 80s and all the way through the mid 90s, And then I thought, shit, if I'm going to sit down and talk with these people, why not put a camera on them? And why not make a documentary about it, Because it was a really interesting time culturally. It was pre-internet, it was, there was a hunger for alternative everything at that point, Everything changed, food changed, music changed, and comedy
It
was the
was
same.
such a scene. I remember coming in, like stumbling into it and just like going out in LA, and there was a vibe, man. Nobody was on their phone. There was no, so when somebody went on stage, it was, people would come into the room to see certain people.
Oh yeah.
And the crew that you came up with, you guys all went on, you talked about your roommate was David Cross. Mr. Show's one of the greatest sketch shows with Odenkirk of all time, and Garofalo and Zach and that whole crew. You know what I told somebody recently? Oh my God, this, like certain bits at Largo that stick with you. I watched Mary Lynn Rice Cube get up one time, and she did like a 6-minute act and just bombed. It was corny, old, hacky jokes, and she just ate it for 6 minutes and never flinched. And then after she ate it, she wheeled a television on set on the stage, and she showed the exact 6-minute set that Joan Rivers had done in 1972 on The Tonight Show that she had just done verbatim. She bombed. And Joan Rivers said, absolutely murdered on The Tonight Show. And it was just that kind of eclectic work sometimes. Where it was so creative and you didn't see it coming, and it was
the first time I had ever remembered comedy being dangerous. And what I mean by that is like it was the topics, but also up until then, as a student of comedy, because that's all I could be in the heyday of the alternative scene coming about, of the Largos and the comedians of comedy and that kind of stuff. What happened was,
I forgot the comedians of comedy.
I
show.
I know I had never seen material that didn't have 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, laugh, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000.
Right.
And so what I mean by dangerous was building tension with an audience of, wait, nothing has happened for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And the confidence that it took to be those comedians in that time, because they had in their back pocket, like, it's been silent for 37 seconds.
They were fearless. There was,
and I've got you, mother. Like
they do a 7-minute set for one joke. I remember. So that was worth it. Fred Armisen and Maria Bamford. And you should totally do that. Who was it? Andrew McCarthy He just filmed a documentary about the Brat Pack, right?
Yeah, I'm dying to see that.
Me too. You would do, and it's so. It was just enough before the internet that it's not all over the internet, but there was enough cameras filming stuff that it would make a fantastic documentary. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think I could really find some. And my father who actually just passed a little over a week ago. He was 91,
I'm
so
sorry.
he lived a great life. He
It's a good one. It's a good one.
he was a video producer, and so when I started, he would come and shoot shows that I was on in San Francisco. So I've got old Patton and old Margaret Cho, and like I've got all this great stuff. And I so to me, the archiving is going to be so fun. Like it's just a thing I want to write, like a love letter kind of thing. I mean, I want it to be interesting, and I also want to hear from comics that hated it, because there were people that absolutely hated us and hated the scene and thought we were terrible, and like the alternative was that it wasn't funny. Like, you know, it was definitely something that divided people's, you know, how comics
It
are.
was
Well,
It
I
was-
loved
yeah.
it, but I did not fit into it. I did Largo once or twice, and I ate it pretty hard because my act I wasn't of that ilk. I didn't come up in that vein, and so I didn't tell those kinds of jokes, and it did not go. But I appreciated it, and the back of I think most people who hated it were jealous. I mean, it's, you know, I feel like they were like, I want to be part of the scene, because that Monday Night Largo, the back of the room would be a ton of comics just trying to weasel their way in to do a set down the road or something, and to be part of that main core of people was like, like pedestal.
Jason's comedy himself is very storyteller, and Jason would have been in that perfect that Largo spot. Jason, like, did you ever write jokes, or was it always based on stories? And same.
I've
goes
only
with
ever
you.
done stories. It's just the way I don't know. It just feels the most right to me. Like that's where I am.
Yeah,
I'm the same way in that I can write a joke, but it takes a while, and they usually come to me on stage in the middle of a story.
That's
A
what
joke
happens
will
with me all the time. Is my best lines come out in the fly.
Yeah, because you're aware of the tension, and you know you need to say something, and usually it's a comment on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But but that's how I do it. I've never sat down to write ever.
Yeah. No, I think the
just
future.
jokes.
I don't think the alternative scene was just alternative. I'm going to go a step further and say it was the future becoming what it is, because now, because of the immediacy of the internet, and there is absolutely no chance for you to have the perfect 1-2 punch on any topical thing. So the only thing where you're going to be original as a stand-up comedian is it better be personal and it better be real, because otherwise some other person on the internet has done that joke today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen, you know, it was always so smart, and they were, I mean, you could see Patton, you'd have to pull out your thesaurus, and he would do,
Bro.
Patton Oswalt would do like a 13-minute speed monologue on
Summarize
a salad bar.
Proust.
Yeah. But Zach would do 45 seconds of piano, 4 words, and then another 3 minutes, you know, and it's still it was just what it was. But our buddy Mark says hi. Mark Seaman says Comedy Death Ray 2002. All those things are coming back. I remember seeing like the Naked Trucker show at Largo, and I had just got here, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was so
and-
vibrant. Go ahead.
Jack and Kyle came out of that scene too. The Tenacious D
Yes.
was.
That's right.
I remember
That's right,
seeing
Jack
their.
Black.
Yeah, I remember seeing their first set. Like they were, and it was beautiful from the get go. It was like those guys were like onto something right away. It was
You
really
could
amazing.
see it was a room full of people every time you were at Largo back then, that every single one of them, if you tapped them on the shoulder and you went, so Andy Kaufman's first appearance on SNL, that was it for you? Yep, that was it. Yep. Mighty Mouse, there you go. And you're like, there we are. We're all there.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of stuff. That's what I love about the world of entertainment that we went into. There's not necessarily a set of rules.
Well,
it's a guideline. You know what I mean?
It was just the next evolvement of comedy. But Greg, what is like your kids are in college, and if you look at TikTok and all these things, it feels like comedy's changing again. Like I was talking to somebody the other day. You can't have a pause. You can't put a pause in your stuff because people will shut off. Like
They shut it off. Yeah.
you have to jump cut. I see people with their stand-up acts and they jump cut through the joke. And I go, we've kind of lost that. And then they'll go, you're old, boomer. This is how we do it now. It's just a one setup with like a machine gun of punchlines. And I'm like,
So
I miss pause.
I put one set on TikTok, and it's about how, as a married person, I get jealous of lonely people. And like I meet a lonely person, I'll be like, "So you're lonely?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." And I'll be like, "So nobody calls you?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Fuck, it's awesome." and you're just by yourself. Yeah. Oh man. And you can sleep all day? Yeah. Oh fuck, tell me that part slowly. And so that's the bit. And it had one comment, and a guy wrote, "Boomer."
So true.
And I was like, I'm not gonna weigh into TikTok. I don't have to.
No. Here's the good part about TikTok. Nobody cares. That all the comments, it's not like Facebook where it's attached to a page of like their history and like who they. No. I assume they don't exist. Like I assume
Russian bots. I do think it's changing though.
Yeah. It is changing the speed of which. Did you know, you guys, it's called I'm old as a millennial, an old millennial at 41. I'm old. And they have something on TikTok called the millennial pause. And that is when you scroll to a video and it's a millennial, because when it lands on a page, when it lands on a video and a millennial's making the content, we go, so, and that little that we're waiting, and you know what it is? Somebody identified it. They said back in the day when you press record on a camera, it would take a second.
So yeah, that's
now,
true.
Oh, right.
But now it's instantaneous. So us, the older generation, we go, give it a second. Hey, what's up, guys? And they're like, and so
that's incredible.
This one real estate agent did a walkthrough of the house, and he sent it to his Gen Z editor. And he goes, could you edit this for me? And what the Gen Z kid sent back is he goes, I'll do this if you stop doing this. And it was 20 seconds of the guy going, so, and what?
That's amazing.
Dude, back in the day, when I was doing sketches at Acme, I had to rent equipment to try to shoot a sketch and then hire an editor to put together a 90. My 9-year-old has CapCut. She just got home from school today and she goes, hey, can I play? She wants to do Roblox. I go, you're not going on your iPad. She goes, well, can I go on to make a CapCut? And she thinks if she tells me she's making a video, then I'm going to be like, oh, that sounds, yeah.
Yes. Very smart daughter you have there. She didn't ask if she could. She asked if you would mind if she did.
Yes, she did. And then, so I let them on the weekend make a CapCut, and they made this horror film about dad's farts. Sent it to me. She texted me a video. I'll have to show it to you. And it's just, it ends with Hannah going, and then across it says, I survived dad's farts.
Oh my God.
Hey man, I'm going to pull CapCut off your page, dude. You're hurting your father.
Yeah.
Until it gets like 200,000 views, and you're like, hey, is there a follow-up to dad's farts?
Yeah, that's right.
Is there dad bleeds?
That's my other complaint with today's comedy is that it's the same joke, because if you do something like, I have friends, I won't say who, they're huge online, and if you go to their page, it's the same as the Instagram model who's like, all she has is like, it's like, oh, there's my cleavage and some cleavage, and that's my cleavage, and that's my and she has 4 million followers, and it's literally a torso shot of her cleavage in just a different shirt. And you're like, who is following these people? But they do. And so if someone has something that they hit like a little hook in whatever comedy they're doing, they repeat it. If you repeat it every day, put it out the exact same time, share it to your story, share it to TikTok, make sure you don't change anything, use the same font, use everything.
Yeah,
it's like on SNL when the cheerleader sketch would go on. And the first time the cheerleader sketch with Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry was genius. And then the next week they did it again. They were at a different school with a little bit of a different cheer. Same act, same. And then the next week, and you're like, we got it. I see the premise of the cheerleader thing. And I think people are being trained to do the same monotonous joke over and over and over again because
that's what the trending videos are like that.
That's what trending, and they reverse
I
technology.
know I'm a whatever.
Yeah.
Thing that's
this
going on
audio
right now.
clip is trending now, so I'm going to put that into my thing as opposed to writing something that I believe is truly funny in my own creativity.
But I think the medium, they gave Matt Rife a special and nobody cared. I mean, I'll be fair, some people cared, but he didn't translate. It didn't do what they would
That's right.
imagined it would do because at the end of the day, TikToks are still the minor leagues. It's not the same thing as doing an hour of stand-up, which is a really specific skill that only Taylor Tomlinson can do. But no, I'm kidding.
I couldn't agree more.
I
think she's dude. I've told this story. She opened for me one time, and I saw her like when she was like 18. I go, holy crap, that girl's gonna be huge. She was a monster joke writer, and just in the moment, I'm like, I thought she was. Yeah. There's people like that.
Greg, I agree. And here's what's interesting. TikTok and Instagram Reels, those short clips are a meritocracy of how well you are, how good you can create a piece of content and edit it and get it out there. But it is not the metric of a live performance for an hour and everything. And here's the good and bad news. The good and bad news is some people don't need it to be. That's fine. That's fine.
Right. That's right.
Right. You know, and to defend Matt Rife, he can go out selling out all the places he goes out to do and do his very specific act. It doesn't mean it's going to be the traditional stand-up thing. It's going to be a new thing. That's the only part that sucks now is that we started this conversation with you on Letterman. You know what I mean? Like the kingmaker, you know, and now there isn't a kingmaker in a sense anymore. Not even TikTok is a kingmaker, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I suppose getting a Netflix special, but even then I see them come and go pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, and some of them are very good and some of them are friends, but
Jamie and I and Jason and I also differ sometimes. I watch almost everything I can get my hands on stand-up wise. And some other comics, Jamie and I, we differ. He says he doesn't watch that much because he doesn't want it to bleed into his stuff. But there's so much on Netflix that I can't watch it all. I don't think I've seen every Netflix special.
My children don't allow me to watch anything at all.
They've got the parental controls on you?
Yeah, they've locked me out. There's codes I don't even have anymore. Like I don't even know what.
Two-step authentication.
Nope, they just use the credit card and pay for it, and I'm just bankrolling it here.
Amazing.
Our guest tonight is Greg Behrendt. His book is The On the Way Down. We always, anytime we have one of our fave comics on, we get on this crazy line of talking about because it's what it drives us all, and you're still out touring a lot and stuff. How was that? Like once I had kids and I wasn't really trying to tear the road up as much. Boy, the travel's just I don't love the travel at all. I love the shows, but the travel is not my favorite.
Yeah, well, I'm a little. So I started doing. I wasn't working at all. I wasn't selling tickets. I wasn't getting a lot of road work, and I saw a buddy on a boat whose comedy I like. So I was like, oh, if he's doing comedy on a boat, maybe it's not that bad. So I hit him up, and he hooked me up with his agent, and somebody fell out, and I went on the Allure of the Seas, which is a Royal Caribbean boat, has a comedy club.
That's a great boat. It's a great boat.
It's a great boat. It's a big one. Yeah, it's really huge. And you do 2 to 3 shows a night, 20 minutes each. And it was a fucking blast. And I got paid more than I get paid for a week at a club. And I don't have to sell tickets. I don't have to, there's no hassle. And I really
it was always the ticket sales
and after
for
being
me.
home, what's that?
It was always ticket sales that bothered me. Like I just didn't and that's the beauty of TikTok and these guys, they have a following before they even have an act. And so it's like I have friends who aren't even comics and they're like, well, people are reaching out for me to do stand up. at these venues. I've never done it before. You have any notes? And I go, yeah, go get on stage a lot, like hundreds of times. But they don't need to, because they'll sell out the very first time they do stand up. They'll sell out a theater. And so, it's almost this reverse thing. And now to be at your level where you have this amazing act, great stories, this amazing tale, to go to a place where you don't have to try to sell tickets, it must be super fun.
It's fun. I mean, to be fair, cruise ships are a little red state, but I don't traffic in politics and religion in my stand-up anyway. I mean, I'm pretty political in my regular life, but I never bring it to the stage because I don't know how to be funny about it.
Yeah, me too.
But I like the work. I still want to work on land. I don't want to be lost at sea. But right now,
I still would like to be on land.
Yeah, it's paying the bills. And,
brother, I've done years and years of the cruise ships, and I absolutely adore them, because you do have the opportunity to do two things. Most of these shows you ever do, you never get to see your audience again, ever.
Right.
And there is a really wonderful thing that's happened to me personally, which is 5 years of doing cruise ships. I go alone a lot on the cruise ship. Sometimes I get to bring my partners, but sometimes I go alone. And what happens? I go out on the Lido deck, I eat my sandwich, and some nice, wonderful human being comes up and talks to me and says, I loved your show. I'll see the rest of your shows. And I have like 20 friends who have been emailing me for years because we connected on a vacation together. And when people knock on people's stuff like that, I'm like, hey, try it. It was fun.
Anybody who can work.
Exactly.
There's retirees, they live on cruise ships. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It's a full time. That's their home, is on the cruise ship.
It's
right?
cheaper. It's cheaper than the retirement.
Did you know that
home.
it's cheaper to live on a cruise ship than it is to like get a house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
it's
wild, man. It's wild.
We had Fritz Coleman on the other day, and we were talking about, we were doing some places out in Palm Springs. There were all those 55 and over communities. Have you ever done those, Greg? You got to get involved. They're the best. You go out and you think it's like this crazy 55 and over community or whatever, and it's going to be, they are swinging. There's a golf course, like it's a mobile home park, but the mobile homes are like $2 and $3 million, and then there's
that's my dream, baby.
Community center, bar, and these people just are tearing it up. But you have to be over 55 to live there, and I'm like, that is my target audience, because I go to do a show in Hollywood in front of 21-year-olds, and they're like, dude, nothing you're saying has anything to do with our life right now. And I was like, I know.
Yeah, I know it.
It hurts a little bit. It does hurt. It's like the only time I feel old is sometimes when there's a young person in the audience and I say something and they go, yeah, you're not even speaking English. What are you talking about? I'm like, having kids and paying a mortgage. And they go like, dude. Today then nobody's buying homes. They don't even buy homes, or they don't even own cars. Like, it's so crazy how different it is. Talk about your daughters at all. I mean, you have what were they like as teens? Were they crazy?
No, they were. No, they were. I mean, I have to be honest. During their teens, I was pretty messed up. So it was a weird time, and I don't remember a lot of it. But they're great. They're great kids. They're really good people. They're nice. They're smart. They're not messy. They they'll go out and have a party, but they don't get fucked up. And I'm not worried that they're going to end up dead from fentanyl. And and they work hard in school. They both work really hard. They're both driven. I'm really lucky, and I think it's because they had. Because of their mother. I mean, I put my 2 cents in, but they were.
Well, maybe what you did by being, messed up during their teen years, maybe that's the best thing to do for teens. Maybe I should, when my kids hit 13, maybe I should start, doing some heroin or something. And then
get on the pills, man.
So I know you didn't drink. You never drank for years, and so all of a sudden you were like, no, okay, these are opiates are going to be okay.
No, what happened was the first time was the dog pills, but the second time, when I had cancer, they cut me open to pull out my appendix to keep the cancer from jumping, and then they sewed me back up, and then they put me on chemo. And chemo keeps you from healing because it's messing with your red and white blood cells.
Yeah.
And so I had to be on OxyContin for 6 months. And then they gave me 30 Norco to get off it. And I needed to go work. So I went to a comedy club, and I went to, what do they call it? In St. Louis anyway. And I'd taken all the Norco, as prescribed, and I wasn't detoxed. And I started detoxing in the green room. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to have a seizure or something. So I got one of the waiters. I'm like, if you can find anybody here who has an opiate of any kind, that would be awesome. And he found me 2 little blue pills. And then I didn't want to withdraw. So I started taking them regularly. And then I got addicted.
It's it's so crazy because it's not like you were out, having fun in the Central Park scoring heroin. Like you were.
No, I wasn't drug
cancer.
seeking.
No, you were dealing with cancer, and then because of that, they give you oxy, which is arguably one of the most. It's basically heroin, right? That's what's.
Yeah, it is
the most addictive thing on earth. And then they go, here, this will get you off of it, but no follow-up checkup to go, hey, we want to just make sure you're okay and you're off this thing. They were like, no, you're on your own at this point.
They really should, and I don't know if they've started, but they should detox people. I should have been detoxed.
That's crazy, Greg.
Let me ask a quick question. I've taken oxycodone, OxyContin. Did you feel that it actually killed pain?
No,
or it's just
it doesn't kill the pain. You just don't care.
Thank you.
It's such a mind fuck. It's
that's exactly right. That's one. Thank you for admitting that. It's not, for some reason the doctors always call them painkillers, but I'm like, no, I still felt that stuff. It's just that I no longer gave a crap.
Yeah.
Is it just euphoric?
It's euphoric.
It is. It's kind of like alcohol without the dizziness. It's like
that sounds awesome. That sounds really good.
So right with the world. Like you just feel like you can handle anything.
Imagine 3 or 4 drinks drunk with no dizziness, no slurred speech, none of that kind of stuff. And you're kind of like, man, I'm oh yeah. But the problem is it's immediately uptaked. Like 2 today won't have, tomorrow it's going to be 3. And the next day it's going to be 4. And the next day it's going to be like that quick.
Well, you would read some of the stuff the football players were like, no, I was taking like 150 pills a day. And you're like, wouldn't that kill you? And they're like, no, you built up a tolerance to that level. That's so did that go on for a while? Were you performing and trying to manage this beast?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
How were you scoring? Were you just did you get other prescriptions or intrigued by this?
My sister, who has also passed, had meds because she had so many illnesses. And she would get 90 oxycodone and 90 Norco a month. So so I would just get it from her.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
How many years did this go on?
It went on for a year.
A year.
Yeah.
But you're also, your body's trying to heal from cancer while this is going on, and you're doing chemo and doing all this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I was lying about it.
That.
I was lying about it, and all that shit. And so it was, and then I detoxed at home on a thing called Suboxone, which is like
oh my God. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's the worst. It's like the methadone of opiates.
It's so bad, Jamie.
What does it do? I don't understand.
It doesn't, you don't get high, but you don't withdraw.
Yeah. And so like, it's kind of like being jacked off, pardon me, and never getting there. And you're like, I'm just kind of like, anyway.
It's weird. Every day.
And is that how you finally quit it? Was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And this is all in the book, by the way. See you on the way down with dude. It's like a million little pieces. Remember that book?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And he totally got busted, right? Because he was making stuff up, apparently.
He was on Oprah around the same exact time that I was.
I remember that.
And he had to go on her show and be
Apologize.
Yeah,
Say he was
fuck.
sorry.
That was so
Contrition.
brutal.
Yeah.
You know
And
what
I
he
love
didn't
that
have,
book
though?
too.
I don't remember him having cancer to
Yeah.
lead it. You know what
Can
I mean?
Can I also
I think
say
you're off
this,
the hook,
though?
my brother.
Yeah, well-
everyone can be like, yeah, but I mean, the story
Greg-
alone kind of dictates quite a ton of sympathy to go. I totally understand. I think that would have happened to any of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It could have.
And that's what I was going to say, is that the not all heroes wear capes, meaning that, that is coming back from something like that. Not many people do, but both multiple people on this particular podcast have gone through some serious health shit, and coming back and being strong and continuing to do stuff is the necessary anecdote that most people need. Like, for example, the only times in my life that I've ever made it through stuff is because there was some example I had going, they did it, And
Yeah, right.
the more people write books like this and say, hey, I all the trappings of success and all this, and still you can get hooked on opioids.
But it makes it an easier read when the guy's super funny and he can
That's what I'm
translate it
saying.
into a comedic
Yeah,
tone.
exactly.
Of like to go
That's
like,
the
this isn't a heavy, like
it's
this
what's
happened to me. This was
it's what's
crazy. I dealt with
necessary.
all this stuff, but here there's going to be some jokes involved and super funny. I don't want to keep you. And honestly, we already went way over, Greg, because I was so excited to have you on the show.
Oh, it's
Yeah, this is a
so great, Jamie.
huge honor. This is
I
such
hope
Yeah,
this
awesome.
gets as successful as he's just not that into you, because it's such a great story, man. It's just such a great story. I mean, the title alone, "See on the Way Down," with the kids and your wife and going through the cancer and the opiates and stuff, and being able to keep your sense of humor and still get up on stage and go and tell all these crazy jokes. I think it's just, it's
Thank you,
heroic in a
man.
way.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you, and I appreciate this was a lot of fun. I really love talking to you guys.
Well, we're
This
going to
is a
make you
big
come
thrill,
back
man.
because we love having you,
Yes,
man. It was
sorry.
really a thrill for us. So,
Great.
let's let Greg go. Greg, thank you so much for doing this.
right, guys.
We'll hit you after, and I can't thank you enough. The book is called "See You on the Way Down." Let's put the scroll up one more time. It is at Everbrand,
Yeah.
www.everbrand. And
Lock the door. Lock it.
She wanted
Lock
to.
it.
Where's Danielle? By the way, do we know where Danielle is today?
She lives in
Or-
Denver. She married a lawyer. She's doing great.
She called Letterman and got Zoe Friedman fired, as my guess. But I like to button up. I like to bring everything back. What did we
I
learn
love
today?
it. All right,
All right.
guys.
Thanks so much, Greg. Talk to you soon.
Cheers.
All right, hey everybody, thank you so much. Wow, we had huge numbers. We couldn't get to all your comments. Obviously, Jason was doing his best. I could see that's why he's chiming in less, because he's trying to get all his contacts up there. All the
guys,
comments
thank you
were
so much for that.
hilarious.
Appreciate
I know, Ruppel, wasn't it great with Greg? I love
Bro,
Greg Behrendt so much.
I mean,
One of my faves.
I get all runny mouth because that was literally Greg
I know.
was one of those comics that I looked up to.
Me too.
And,
Me too. I came to stage and he was just crush murderer.
He had the definition of what it was to know who you are and go, this is who I am. I'm not apologizing. I'm not changing it. And I know by the end of it, you're going to like me. And
I've told him this before, and he remembers it. But there was a time I did one of those alt rooms, and I bombed. I ate it. Ate it. It might have been at UCB or something, and it was awful. And I was doing like my, whatever jokes. And Greg went up after me, and I almost got into a fight with a guy in the audience. Literally, I went in the audience. We almost got in a fist fight, and I was shaking when I walked off the stage. And Greg went up, and instead of doing his set, he lit the audience up and defended me to the hilt, like brought tears to my eyes. And I always was like, I love that cat so much, because he's a class act of like, he loves the art form more than anybody, and it's about the craft. And that's why he really does need to make that documentary about that era, because he was one of the central spokes of the whole wheel. He knows everybody, but he also has the right mindset and the right heart to kind of tell it the way it should be told. So Greg Behrendt, our guest today.
Yep, truly the definition of that. It's you pour your water into the glass, man, and it's all of it's whatever container it pours into. You get Greg everywhere you go. That's great.
Well, listen, we are so thankful all you guys are here. We have a huge audience tonight. It's crazy. Just to reiterate, we are jumping to Patreon in a couple weeks. I don't know how to say it any different, Justin. We've been told here's what's happened. Go ahead.
Well, here's what's really easy, everybody who's watching right now. The place you're watching this, we're going to make an announcement on every Tuesday, and you can just click the little link and hop on over to Patreon. That way, we are able to answer all of your questions live. I'm still waiting for Jamie to take his next virtual call shot. Hey, I gave him that background.
He did. He totally did. He lit me up. He's like, "Hey, man."
Because I was like, we all are trying with the backgrounds. He's like, well, I would like a man cave. I'm like, done.
He sent me it, and I said, that's my man cave now.
But the Patreon is going to allow us to do so much more, and we're going to be able to notify you there. The episodes are always going to be free after they're live, but the live, man, you got to come over there, and there's going to be so much more extra stuff that we're able to do on Patreon, and I'm so pumped for it.
And include people more. We're doing the whiskey nights, and then we're having a lot more interactive. Because the reason this whole show started is because during the pandemic, I had with Jason, we had a Thursday night, just a parental mental hang. It was a Zoom, and it was like 30 guys, and we'd all cry and tell jokes, and it turned into that. So we're so thankful for all of our regulars coming in and sniping with jokes, and we want to keep it on that kind of level. So yeah.
This is
Freddie B. We love you. Freddie B. Actually, one of our snipers was in LA this weekend, and he brought that crazy Mexican bread that I ate every piece of the loaf. I don't even know what it was called, but it was delicious.
Jason just lit up for the first time the whole cast. He goes, "What is this crazy Mexican bread?"
Mexican bread. All right, that's it. I think our podcast feed. Oh, actually, by the time this goes up, it'll be back up. But apparently, there's been some difficulties with it. But we'll figure it out.
Well, you get to enjoy it live. That's
right.
We'll do it live.
Doing it live.
And you can catch watch this whenever you want, right on YouTube or any of the places you're watching it right now. You can go back from the beginning and watch. Unlimited, it's always there.
Yep, and you can see our beautiful faces as you do right now, and see the gray in my beard. Look at that. Isn't that nice?
I believe we have John Henson next week from Halloween Cooking Baking Show and Talk Soup. He's hilariously funny too. He's a good cat, and so I think he's doing our show next Tuesday. And then I think we might be heading over to Patreon. So we'll see you there. Thank you guys. Seriously, we love you all. So be sure to go rate, write, review, subscribe, like, post, do a ruffle, and do the whole thing. Anybody else have anything to say?
No, what's a ruffle?
I don't know. You do the ruffle. Just do the ruffle.
All right.
That's our next T-shirt. All right. We'll love you guys. Thank you. See you next time here in the Parents Lounge.
Good night, everybody.
Cheers.